Welcome back to my channel, Coins History Coins VC. Today is Best Top 6 Coins. One you want to miss, we're diving into the world of United States of America coins. Please don't skip this video. So, let's get it started. The 1971 United States 1-cent coin, more commonly known as the Lincoln Memorial penny, is a small but historically rich artifact minted during an era of both social transition and numismatic evolution in the United States. This coin, made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, represents the last era before major changes in composition would sweep across the penny series in the following decades. Weighing 3.11 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter, the 1971 penny is part of a long lineage of Lincoln cents that began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, the first time a real historical person appeared on U.S. coinage. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse side features a right-facing portrait of Lincoln, whose stern and reflective gaze became a familiar icon of American resilience and leadership. Above Lincoln's head is the word, "In God We Trust," while the word liberty rests to the left of his profile and the date 1971 appears to the right. If struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the most common, the coin bears no mint mark. However, the 1971 issue was also struck at the Denver Mint, marked D, and San Francisco Mint, marked S, the latter primarily producing proof versions. On the reverse, the design created by Frank Asparo in 1959 replaces the earlier wheat ears with the Lincoln Memorial, situated in the center. If one looks closely, the seated statue of Lincoln is visible between the columns, making the 1971 cent one of the rare U.S. coins that features the same individual on both sides. Above the building is the legend United States of America, with the Latin motto E pluribus unum just below it. The coin's denomination, 1 cent, is inscribed at the bottom in bold letters. These design elements remained in use from 1959 to 2008, after which a new reverse series was introduced. The mintage figures for the 1971 penny were significant, indicating the sheer scale of production. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.9 billion coins, 1,929,268,750, while the Denver Mint struck over 2.9 billion, 2,911,045,600, and the San Francisco Mint added approximately 3.2 million proof coins, 3,220,733. As a result, the 1971 penny remains very common in circulation and in coin collections. While circulated examples are typically only worth face value, 1 cent, uncirculated and high-grade examples, particularly those graded MS-65 and above, can attract a modest premium, typically $1 to $5, depending on condition and demand. The proof versions, especially those with deep cameo contrast, are more collectible and can be worth $2 to $10 or more, depending on quality and grading. A particularly fascinating aspect of the 1971 penny lies in its varieties and errors, which are of interest to serious collectors. Among the most sought-after are double die obverse DDO varieties, especially found in the 1971 no mint mark Philadelphia issue. These DDO coins exhibit doubling in the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1971 itself. If authenticated, such errors can significantly boost a coin's value, ranging from $50 to several $100s, with pristine examples fetching over $1,000. Other minor errors, such as off-center strikes, clip planchets, and die cracks are also collectible but usually demand lower premiums unless dramatic in nature. In the broader historical context, 1971 was a year of transition in the United States. The country was entrenched in the Vietnam War, and the effects of the civil rights movement and economic changes were rippling through society. In August of that year, President Richard Nixon formally ended the gold standard, detaching the U.S. dollar from gold, an act that also signaled long-term shifts in U.S. monetary policy and indirectly emphasized the symbolic nature of coins like the penny. The Lincoln penny itself, with its timeless tribute to unity and leadership, served as both a practical currency and a miniature monument to American ideals. In sum, the 1971 Lincoln penny is far more than a common copper coin. It's a historical artifact bearing witness to political, economic, and social change in America. While it remains abundant in quantity, its deeper value lies in its role as a bridge between early 20th century design, Cold War-era industrial output, and the modern numismatic era. Whether found in child's piggy bank or a collector's high-grade slab, the 1971 cent continues to offer a lasting tribute to Lincoln's legacy and American coinage heritage. Next top. The 1974 United States 1-cent coin, more commonly known as the 1974 Lincoln cent, or simply the 1974 penny, is a fascinating piece of American numismatic history. It comes from a decade of change and experimentation for the U.S. Mint, especially due to rising metal costs and increasing inflation in the early 1970s. This coin was minted in large numbers and continues the long-running design first introduced in 1909, featuring the bust of President Abraham Lincoln, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1974, this iconic image had already been a fixture on the penny for 65 years. However, this year is particularly significant because it marks a critical experimental phase in the history of the U.S. cent. Most notably, the U.S. Mint's attempt to find a substitute alloy for copper, which had become too expensive due to market pressures. The obverse front of the 1974 penny features a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," arch along the top rim, "Liberty," to the left of Lincoln's profile, and the year 1974 to the right. If the coin was minted in Denver, it would also feature a small D mint mark below the year. There were also coins struck at the San Francisco Mint, bearing an S mint mark, especially for proof coins. The reverse back of the coin still bore the classic Lincoln Memorial design by Frank Gasparo, first introduced in 1959 to replace the original wheat ears reverse. The Lincoln Memorial reverse displays an elegant neoclassical structure, with the inscriptions "United States of America" along the top edge, "E Pluribus Unum" just above the building, and 1 cent prominently displayed below. If viewed closely, one can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making the coin a rare case of featuring the same person on both sides. The most historically significant aspect of the 1974 cent is its association with the 1974 aluminum penny experiment. Due to the increasing cost of copper, the U.S. Mint struck over 1.5 million experimental cents in aluminum, composed of 95% aluminum and 5% trace metals, at the Philadelphia Mint. These aluminum cents were never officially released into circulation and were largely recalled and melted down. Only a handful survive, and they are now considered extremely rare and controversial pieces, often involved in legal battles between the mint and private holders, as the aluminum cents are technically government property. While these coins are not legally owned by private collectors, a few are known to exist and have sold privately for speculative values in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. Their lightweight, silvery appearance, and potential to damage coin counting machines were all reasons cited for the rejection of the aluminum cent plan. Meanwhile, the regular circulation strikes of the 1974 penny continued using the standard 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy, the same composition used since 1962. These coins weigh 3.11 grams and have a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The 1974 pennies were produced in enormous quantities, with over 4 billion coins struck between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and an additional 2.6 million proof coins from San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at the time, which is why the most common version simply reads 1974 with no letter under the date. Because of this mass production, most 1974 Lincoln cents are extremely common and hold only face value in circulated condition. However, uncirculated examples in high mint state, MS65 and above, especially those with rich red luster and few contact marks, are often collected and can be worth slightly more than face value, typically a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on the grade and market demand. Another interesting collectible variety from this year includes the 1974 S-Proof Lincoln cent, which was produced exclusively for collectors. These coins feature deeply mirrored fields and frosted design elements, giving them a sharp, attractive contrast known as cameo or deep cameo finish. These coins were sold in proof sets and are relatively easy to find today, often priced between $1 and $5, depending on the quality and packaging. Numismatists also look for errors in varieties, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or other minting anomalies among the 1974 cents. While no major double die varieties have been widely acknowledged for this year, some minor variations have been discovered and are actively sought by specialists. In summary, the 1974 Lincoln penny is a coin of both historic and numismatic interest. While most examples are very common and hold minimal collector value, their historical importance is underscored by the mint's flirtation with changing the metal content, a move that foreshadowed the more permanent change to copper-plated zinc cents in 1982. The aluminum cent experiment of 1974 remains one of the most intriguing what-if stories in American coinage. Holding a 1974 penny in your hand today means you're grasping a tangible relic from a year of experimentation, economic pressure, and a pivotal moment in the U.S. Mint's efforts to modernize currency production during the inflationary era of the 1970s. Whether as a simple reminder of everyday commerce or a window into a hidden chapter of numismatic history, the 1974 penny remains a small but meaningful piece of America's monetary legacy. Next top. The 1976 United States 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as a 1976 Lincoln cent or 1976 penny, is a small yet historically significant piece of American currency. Though its face value is just 1 cent, it belongs to a broader narrative of U.S. history, economics, politics, and numismatics, particularly given the context of the United States bicentennial, celebrated in 1976. This year marked the 200th anniversary of American independence, 1776 to 1976, and while the penny itself did not feature a special bicentennial design like the quarter, half dollar, or dollar coins did, it was still part of the American coinage landscape during a moment of patriotic celebration and economic complexity. The obverse front of the 1976 penny features a classic and enduring portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Lincoln's right-facing profile appears crisp and resolute, symbolizing his leadership through the Civil War and his lasting influence on American values. Above Lincoln's head is the inscription, "In God We Trust," a motto first added to U.S. coins during the Civil War and a staple of American currency ever since. To the left of Lincoln's bust is the word liberty, and to the right is the date 1976. Some coins minted in Denver bear a small D mint mark under the date, indicating they were struck at the Denver Mint, while coins without a mint mark were minted in Philadelphia. The reverse back of the 1976 Lincoln cent features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, replacing the previous wheat ears reverse used from 1909 to 1958. The reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. It showcases a neoclassical memorial in Washington, D.C., complete with 12 visible columns, each representing a U.S. state at the time of the memorial's construction. Intricately detailed, even Lincoln's statue is faintly visible between the columns on well-struck coins. Above the memorial is the inscription, United States of America, and just below that, the motto E pluribus unum, out of many one, reflects the unity of the states. Beneath the memorial is a denomination, 1 cent. In terms of composition, the 1976 penny was part of the bronze Lincoln Memorial Cent series, and it was struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. This composition had been standard since 1962. However, due to rising copper prices in the early 1970s, the cost of producing these coins approached or even exceeded their face value. Discussions were underway during this time to shift to a cheaper composition, which eventually led to the 1982 transition to a copper-plated zinc cent. Thus, the 1976 penny represents one of the last full years in which bronze cents were regularly issued. From a historical perspective, 1976 was a year filled with national pride and commemoration. As Americans celebrated 200 years of independence, many coins and other objects were adorned with special bicentennial motifs. However, the penny did not receive such a redesign, likely due to both cost considerations and the already iconic nature of the Lincoln cents design. Nevertheless, the 1976 Lincoln cent served as the everyday workhorse coin for millions of Americans during the bicentennial year, used in daily commerce, saved in penny jars, and included in special mint sets and proof sets by collectors. In terms of mintages, the U.S. Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents in 1976. The Philadelphia Mint No Mint mark produced approximately 4.6 billion coins, while the Denver Mint D Mint mark produced over 4.2 billion. Additionally, a smaller number were struck as proof coins at the San Francisco Mint S Mint mark, made especially for collectors and not intended for circulation. These proof coins exhibit sharp detail and mirror-like finishes, further commemorating the precision and beauty of American minting craftsmanship. Numismatically, the 1976 penny is typically of low monetary value in circulated condition due to its massive mintage and common availability. In average condition, it is worth only its face value, 1 cent. However, collectors sometimes seek high-grade examples in mint state, MS 65 or better, condition, particularly those with full original red luster, free from marks or spots. Such coins might fetch modest premiums, usually a few dollars depending on market demand. Some errors, such as double die obverse, DDO, or off-center strikes, also exist and can attract more attention from specialists and collectors, with their value determined by the rarity and severity of the error. Culturally, the 1976 penny also carries symbolic value. Though it wasn't redesigned for the bicentennial, it circulated at a time when Americans were reflecting on 2 centuries of growth, struggle, and progress. Abraham Lincoln, as a great emancipator, was a fitting figure to represent American ideals of unity, freedom, and justice in a year that celebrated the birth of those very principles in 1776. In conclusion, while the 1976 United States 1-cent coin may not boast a rare or unique design, its historical context and placement within the broader narrative of American coinage lend its significance. It reminds us of a time when Americans celebrated their nation's past while looking toward the future, and it continues to be a quiet but persistent piece of Americana, circulating in pockets, resting in collections, and connecting everyday people to history through the enduring image of President Lincoln next top.
The 1978 D United States 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as the 1978 D Lincoln Memorial Cent, is a small yet historically rich artifact of American numismatics representing a pivotal era in U.S. coinage and national identity. Minted in Denver, as denoted by the D Mint mark, this penny forms part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 and has undergone various design, compositional, and cultural shifts over the decades. The 1978 D cent sits at the tail end of the Bronze-era Memorial reverse design coins, 1959 to 1982, just before the full transition to copper-plated zinc composition that took place in 1982 due to rising copper prices. The 1978 issue offers collectors insight into the economic, political, and artistic backdrop of late 20th century America. Obverse design. On the obverse front of the coin, we see the enduring profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB appear discreetly under Lincoln's shoulder. Brenner's depiction, introduced in 1909 to mark Lincoln's 100th birthday, was the first time a real person appeared on a regular U.S. circulating coin, and its continued use into the late 1970s signifies Lincoln's lasting impact on American ideals of unity and emancipation. Lincoln's portrait faces right and captures a quiet dignity, symbolizing leadership through adversity, especially resonant during the economic challenges and post-Watergate healing of the 1970s. Above Lincoln's head arches the motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase deeply embedded in American monetary symbolism, reflecting the nation's spiritual heritage and the Cold War-era assertion of divine favor against communism. To the left of Lincoln's bust is the word liberty, a core American ideal, while to the right, one finds the date 1978, followed by the D Mint mark, indicating its production at the Denver Mint in Colorado. This mint was responsible for more than 4.2 billion 1-cent coins that year, 4,280,233,400 to be exact, making this coin extremely common in circulation. Reverse design. The reverse of the 1978 D penny features the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic neoclassical monument in Washington, D.C., designed by Frank Gasparro, the 10th chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. Gasparro's reverse replaced the original wheat ear design in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The memorial is intricately rendered, and upon close inspection, even the seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial can be seen, an impressive feat of miniature engraving. Encircling the memorial design is the full national identity, United States of America at the top and E pluribus unum, out of many one. Just above the memorial, an age-old motto expressing American unity from diversity. Below the building is the denomination 1 cent, making this a rare example of U.S. coinage that spells out both the nation and the coin's value in full, as opposed to symbols or abbreviations used in other denominations. Composition and physical features. The 1978 D penny was struck in a 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy, a composition known as bronze. This alloy was used from 1962 until mid-1982, when rising copper prices forced a switch to a copper-plated zinc composition. Each 1978 D cent weighs 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, 0.75 inches, with a plain, smooth edge. These coins were struck on copper planchets and carry the warm, reddish-brown hue typical of bronze pennies, which over time can deepen to a chocolate brown depending on exposure and circulation. Historical context. The year 1978 was a period of shifting American sentiments, economically, politically, and culturally. Inflation and unemployment plagued the economy under President Jimmy Carter, setting the stage for a new era of conservative resurgence in the following decade. The Vietnam War had ended just a few years prior, and the U.S. was grappling with a weakened global position, oil crises, and public mistrust in government following the Watergate scandal. Despite this, there was an effort to hold fast to enduring national symbols like Lincoln, liberty, and the memorial to unity. In a symbolic way, the penny, though small and often overlooked, carried with it these enduring reminders of American heritage. Numismatic value and collectability. From a collector's standpoint, the 1978 D penny is considered common in circulated condition, with hundreds of millions still floating in daily use or tucked away in jars, drawers, and albums. Uncirculated examples, graded MS-65 or higher, are more desirable and can fetch a modest premium, especially in rolls or in mint sets. A pristine, full red gem, MS-67 RD or above, from the Denver Mint might bring more interest due to its visual appeal and grade rarity. However, the overwhelming mintage means that unless the coin exhibits an unusual mint error, like an off-center strike, double die, or clipped planchet, its market value remains close to face value or slightly higher. Though not widely known for major varieties, collectors have reported minor die cracks, filled dies, or off-center strikes on some 1978 D cents. As with most modern cents, machine doubling, not to be confused with true double dies, can also occur but does not add significant value. A careful review with magnification may reveal minor anomalies that might interest an error coin enthusiast, especially on the lettering or Lincoln's features. Conclusion. In conclusion, the 1978 D United States 1 cent coin is a piece of modern American history encapsulated in metal, a mass-produced yet meaningfully designed item that continues the legacy of Abraham Lincoln into the late 20th century. While it may not be rare or high in monetary value, its historical relevance, symbolism, and production background make it a worthy specimen for any collector interested in the evolution of American currency. It reflects a time when the U.S. was transitioning economically and culturally, and coins like this served as small but steady reminders of shared values, unity, and perseverance. Whether found in change, saved in an album, or studied under magnification, the 1978 D penny is a humble yet powerful relic of American numismatic tradition,